Kevin.
Good morning. This is the Columbia Open Space Committee regular meeting for Thursday, June 19, 2025. And we'll call the meeting to order. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 15.
So moved. I'll second it.
Okay, any additions, corrections? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay.
One abstention. And Chris said. He should, he wrote. So we, do not have any of our illustrious people trying to get in.
Just Chris is joining us.
Okay, no, we, okay, we have no one in person to give us reports. But I have a report from,
You want to do audience citizen?
yes, audience of citizens first.
Mark and Virginia McGuire.
Hi. Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions or comments or anything?
Not at the moment, just observing, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I've had a talk with Honor Law, who is our trust for public land representative. And she reported on Camp Laurel and progress inquiry that property. She said the closing is set for sometime in September. That's when it's supposed to be. And TBL is going to purchase the property and then hand it over to Avalona Land Trust. And they did receive an OSWA grant from the state. Assuming that the bond commission funds the grant. So that's in place, but not a gift. And they are $250,000 short. And she's
So I'll
not,
write you a check now.
yes, if you could please. She does have a private donor who's going to put 10,000 up for a match. You know, to draw in the little donations, but we need a sugar daddy.
Ooh.
We need somebody who says 2 million, no problem, no, 250,000, no problem. And she hasn't found it yet. So,
What's, you know what the purchase price is?
no, it's something like 3.5 million.
Really?
3 million, 3.5. So, it's in big scheme of things, it's a little bit, but when you put it out there and say, okay, it's a lot, and she's worried that it would fall through. The Girl Scouts have changed. They have a new executive director. And instead of being, you know, friends of the outdoors and all of that, and oh, we'll give you an extension. No, this one's a businesswoman. And Honor's afraid that she will, say, sorry, not you. And not give an extension. So if anybody knows of an organization or somebody with very deep pockets, let me know.
Deep pockets.
But I have a feeling this one's gonna come, this last quarter, nothing's gonna come in little pieces. So even if you know somebody who can get. And, when I walked the property, there was, I met up with another Girl Scout camper who had worked at the camp for years. And she is spearheading things like GoFundMe. And so she'll bring in stuff. She'll bring in some, but we need a chunk.
And do they have like a list of all the people who've been to the camp and anything like that?
Oh, I'm sure they do some,
I mean, that'd be first place I would think that.
yeah. And some of them might be all grown up and nice and wealthy now. And remember the camp fund. And so that is the report from Honor Law. And okay. So onward. Do we have the explaining and so?
None of it relates to open space. I see it later on the agenda, we're talking about the P O C D. I can talk about some details then, but yeah, nothing specific to open space right now. No.
Good. And who would like to report on the Pine Street parking lot?
Nothing to report. Did what I did, his hands. Or whatever. We had a couple, I think we talked about, I think we had a good meeting with the locals and stuff. Right. I think that's the last thing we talked about. Making progress, so we have some plans, but nothing concrete.
Nothing concrete, okay. San River Watershed Partnership.
Well, we had a short meeting last night. Absolutely nothing earth shattering report.
Okay.
She has had his, well, she has met Tom.
Oh.
That was earth shattering.
That was a good experience for
You
us.
never know where that's going.
What have you been?
The CTRC&D annual meeting.
They've hired a couple of Indians from Three Rivers. And as far as gossip is concerned, it's not working out very well. She's gonna change the way she hires people in the future. Lay down the expectations and so on. But there's problems with the guardians and stuff. They have installed temperature loggers, salinity loggers at the various tributaries. I think they're down to 4 each. She asked for authorization to buy more or have some repair, I guess. So he said good on that. The map, the recreation map for the watershed, the final version has been printed. I'll have them at the town hall this week.
Oh, good.
Is it a trifold? I don't know. I'm sure, you know, it was on 2 sides. Of 8.5 by 11. But I haven't seen the final version.
One I saw was much larger, like 8.5 or whatever, 11 by 17 or something.
Oh,
That she had brought some to that meeting.
Oh, okay, well, that's the way it's gonna be then. Yep. Cause she had it printed.
And it is available online at their site, yeah.
And what does it show? I
It
think,
shows all the public spaces. For all the towns, it's, but you got a copy of next to the penultimate version. Remember, I
right,
passed it out here
yes,
a couple of meetings ago. It's been very, she said it's been very well received by the towns. That, and you'll get a final version, there are a couple of mistakes there, I don't know if you remember that, I brought it up last month. So it shows public spaces, parks, recreation areas in the watershed.
oh, okay, it's got numbers and a list,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. With names. So it's a good map, it's a good map to have.
It is.
And, it'll publicize the Salmon River watershed in general.
And it covers from Bolton
Bolton,
at around 384,
yeah,
Route 384, down to through East Haddam
Yeah.
to the Connecticut River. Nice. Connecticut River. Very comprehensive. Oh, and there's us in the corner.
you know, they always, they ask for a report, and of course, I just talk about Mono Pond as if it was a big deal. And I still want, I don't know who knows, if anybody knows anything more about other tributaries. But there's a map that I saw online, and I don't know, Tom, if it was one of the recent ones that we dealt with. But there looks like there's some drainage from that south end of the pond that goes westward.
Let's go that way.
That should be,
That's Pine Street,
but I guess it's,
our parking lot Pine Street, when you cross that pond, there's water going that way.
yeah,
That drains into Lake Williams.
that's right.
Yes,
That's right.
Parkland Brook.
That's right.
And Lake Williams, I think is gigantic.
Yeah.
Watershed. Yeah, gigantic river. So,
Suffice it to say, very few people have heard of Mid Brook. And not a lot of people have heard of Columbia.
they will.
We're famous for the cleanest water in the country.
Until word gets out, they're not polluted. Okay. Good, thank you. Okay, Tom. Upper River Trail Alliance 12 down.
Yep, Hopper River Trail Alliance, they're still doing a lot of work with signage. Getting, there was a lot of work done on the Hop River, clearing trees and stuff over the past few months, I think that's still continuing.
That looks good.
There's still delays on connecting the Hop River Trail, by Mackey's there behind the main moves right now. The most recent thing I had heard was 2027, it had been 2026. So it'll be in somebody else's lifetime with that one.
I'm too old to drive.
But anyway, that's still out there, it's still plodding along. And Ann and I attend both the Hop River Trail Alliance meetings and the Airline Trail Alliance meetings. The next Airline Trail meeting is this coming Monday, the 23rd. And those are typically scheduled from 3 to 4:30 because it involves a lot of employees rather than volunteers.
Yeah.
And let's see what else was going on with that. It's moving forward with making that alliance a real 501c3 nonprofit. There is grant money that's available to cover the cost to do that, so that's scheduled to happen later this fall, probably September, October timeframe.
Good.
Anything else?
Friends 105.
Pretty much, we have been stalled waiting for, feedback from the state and Trust for Public Land. We had been involved with walking the trails with IMBA the end of April, beginning of May. And they flagged all the, I spent 3 or 4 days with them walking as they were flagging. And luckily for right now, 95% of what they flagged is still out there. We had thought for sure that it would get vandalized, but it hasn't yet. They didn't need it because they GPSed everything, but it was just, and so, I've been walking it here when I've had the opportunity, and pretty much I'm still pleased with the way they laid it out. So, one of the things they did as a part of that was the town property, Minbrook. That's like, we wanted to use what they're advising us to do there for trails. We could start that without waiting for, the state to do all of their stuff. I don't know that we need to, but that's an option. So,
We probably should wait until they finalize the plan, just in case they change something. And, because, they won't fund the actual trail work right away, I'm guessing.
there'll be,
But we could start
yes,
the stuff on the town property as soon as they finalize.
and we did sponsor 2 hikes as a part of the Connecticut Trails Weekend in June, so we
Yep.
did one short hike, and then we did another one exploring a lot of the new section. So, I
Did you get a lot of people?
think we had a total of 7 between the 2 hikes, which isn't bad for. But one of the problems is, if anybody goes and looks at Model Pond, any kind of review of it, the review is based on the original trails
Yeah.
down by the boat launch, and it, basically says boring, don't bother. kind of thing. So,
Okay. Good, thank you. And trail maintenance,
for most of the trails are in good shape. Because we've had so much rain and sunshine and stuff, it's starting to get a little overgrown in spots, but.
Yeah.
As part of, for Zegna Farm, there's a group out of Yukon that they have been funded to help to lay out trail maps and things. So I asked them to redo, what we had done with Zegna Farm, because we've added a few trails since the original maps were created. So the end of last week, they gave me a draft copy of what they had, and they were still missing some. So I went out last weekend and re-GPSed it, so hopefully they'll come back and give us a nice map that would be downloadable.
how did you, who and how did you get in touch with this Yukon group?
With the Trail Finder group, Yukon group.
Yeah.
So we went, you and I went, and I think a few others went to the CLCC event
Yeah.
in Wesleyan.
Yeah.
They were one of the breakout sessions.
Okay,
And Kim Bradley from Deep was there with them. And I said, hey, I've got, is this too small of a project for you to take on? And they said, if you're not in a rush, we will. So that was back, February? So they just reached out to me and said, hey, we have a few minutes to do this for you now, so.
good work. I didn't realize that. That's very good. What did you do just at the farm?
Yeah. They had asked about doing Model Pond and stuff, and I said, Deep is gonna have another, they're gonna have, somebody else will be providing all that when it's all approved and done.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. The, any other old business?
I have a question, I have the piece over here on Route 66, we now own that?
Yes, and it's in the queue for Public Works to do the guardrail. Changes the state wants and to open that up. We'll have to bring in Phil and do a drain. Of off the road drain for the water that goes down, and then basically you're creating a way to get over that big gully right by the highway to get onto the field.
When point was at some point, would we be? To just think about creating a trail from there to tie into all the other trails behind Rec Park.
Into Rec Park,
Into Rec Park from there.
that'd be
That would
good,
be something we wanna think about, I would think.
Yes. That would actually be a very simple thing. And I've walked it, you just go from the south side of the yellow loop trail. And it's a straight shot.
What about doing something that kind of went into the Ellis piece, and I know Ellis is like a jungle, so I don't know.
yeah, the problem is getting through those wetlands.
Well, it's not wetlands, but it's thick. There was a field, but it's just, I haven't been in this one.
Choked with
Oh,
invasives.
okay.
About 20 years ago, when we bought it. We did clear some of it. I got Pete to go in and just brush hog around so we could actually walk on it. But it's just, you would have to crawl through multi-floor rows. I've done it a few times, but not lately.
Right once,
Yeah, it's
I
like
did it once.
impenetrable. Let's wait for the wildlife.
Surveyor get through it.
You don't even pay.
But only once.
Not for fun.
It's an old farm field.
Right.
Yeah.
There is woods in it, so you could, I was saying, if you could kind of cross somehow get across there, get into the wooded area, maybe you could have some little. Get down close to the swamp and then tie back in. It's in the future.
Well,
We
you
use
can,
Justin's oxen
but
You know, blade the trail.
to get in there.
no,
Yeah, let them eat their way through.
Right.
the llamas out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, goats,
Those kind of goes. They go.
Also,
the goats. And some.
Good morning.
But it's also between the Ellisburg on the town property, between Ellis and the Shep property is wet. So hiking trail is not the best thing, because I walk the Joshua Trust boundary a couple times a year. And you're jumping from hillock to hillock through the water. It's
Where the old field was dry. Except it's all
Yes.
grown.
right. But that, well, I haven't looked at it in a long time.
Maybe I'll take a walk out there sometime to see.
Yeah, see what it's like. Maybe the deer eat all the invasives.
Yes. With that means.
And can I add one, I just thought, present the farm, one of the things too is at that CLCC event.
Yep.
Look, there was a presenter there, one of the state foresters was talking about them putting together forest management plans and things.
Yeah.
Whether private property, public property, they do that for free. So I reached out to him and he's gonna, take a walk with me on the Zegda Farm property. And be able to use that as an example, then maybe do a presentation and see if people that have private property in town. So they can understand what that report and what that management plan would be if they took a part of that service.
Who's the state forester?
Frank Servo, something like that, he's out of Goodwin.
I had another thought. That we might want to put in a future budget. And that is getting natural resource inventories for open space. And I took a walk with a guy who has a business and does that. If you wait for the state or or something for free to do it, you can probably pay 10, 20 years. You know, get one. I don't know if he charges for anything. But what they do is they walk the property often in all seasons. And then they give you an inventory of what you've got out there. That would be what kind of animals, amphibians, trees, invasives, stuff like that. And then you've got that as a baseline for anything you do. You know, if you want to do a forestry project, you've got to get a forest management plan. You'll also need the natural resource inventory. Because you really should know what you got in the property. Later, much later. Okay, any other old business? Okay, I want to, I want to talk about the planning and zoning PFCD schedule. Did I send you all this? It works badly. Okay, June 2026 is when planning and zoning will have public hearings and they will adopt the PLCD. So they work backwards from there. You know, to reviews and everything. But what they're going to do is call in different commissions and committees to provide input. And that will be during a planning and zoning meeting. So you can't just walk in and go, I don't know. You gotta be ready because you're gonna get 20 minutes to state your case. That's what I'm predicting, not right?
Yes, essentially, and so John Gaskowski is gonna manage a lot of the process for us, so there'll be official notices and invitations sent out. And help a lot with this. We talked about it during a couple of our subcommittee meetings. That with the way that we're gonna go between now and June next year is, it's all broken down on the sheet. Ag, open space, economic opportunity, all of the different stakeholders. So that we have that individual input that'll be scheduled each month. But one of the things from planning and zoning's perspective, I wanna make everybody know is don't be like, oh, well, planning and zoning is on schedule for July of 2025. I can only be there July of 2025 to give input. I think it's more important for everybody to know that you should be involved as much as you want. There'll be times where we're focusing on other subjects, but throughout the process, please stay involved in it. We debated a couple ways of handling it. Do we do it during the regular meetings? Do we do it during a subcommittee type of process? So right now where we landed is as long as time permits and everything, again, will be laid out by John and the commission. We'll do it as part of the regular meetings. If we get to a point where we don't have time during the regular meetings, or there's a bunch of business that comes in front of us, we'll adjust and we'll probably do it during a subcommittee type of event to keep things rolling. But this way it'll be nice and organized. Each month we have a goal in June, as Ann said, to adopt it and do the public hearings. And then everybody needs to give their input. So yeah, essentially that's how we're laying it out.
So, open space is scheduled for August. Which is like, yes, this August.
Some of it is July on mine, but did you get an updated version?
No, probably not.
Okay, let me I'll double check it with John, but it'll be probably July or August, so.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So, today, right now, in the next 20 minutes, we're gonna do this and get it organized. Then, I'll collect your input. I'm going to lead you through a couple of things, and you give me the input. Who's taking minutes?
Chris,
Chris, you taking minutes? Okay.
no.
What? Well, that's pretty cool. And then Tom and I, because we started this, would you like Kuskowski once the, we'll sit down, we'll take all of your input, plus conservation's, commission's input, and our questions. And we'll get all our ducks in a row. But, and I'll be there planning and so, but I talk very loud and people get impatient because I talk slowly,
Nobody gets a patient hand.
so. So, you know, I would need mouthpieces, so you can all come. And, work. Okay. That's how we're gonna go. So let's start. Can you get the GOCD on the,
Oh, you should have told me that before. Let me see if Jen can help us.
yeah,
Cause I don't know if I could find it.
And you just try to find it online?
Yep.
It's on the website, it should be under the planning and zoning
So,
section under your.
yeah,
So right now I need to share.
okay.
All right. But I have.
Okay. Natural resources. This chapter talks about what the natural resources are. Okay,
And Ann, just really quick, this is something I did not think about, was the legality of it, because I'm on the commission. So I'll probably just sit here and observe as you guys do this, because I'll have to check with John to make sure that I just don't want to screw up the process. I'll end up going on.
but you can listen. And if I'm going off course, you can take me. Okay, water resources, lakes and ponds, wetlands, aquifers and groundwater. Okay, that's what we're looking at for water resources. Okay, in the current P O C D, the goal is to protect the quality of Columbia's wetlands, surface waters, and groundwaters for future generations. Do you want to change to or subtract from that goal? And anybody? Okay, protect the quality of the Columbia's wetlands, surface waters. That would be Columbia Lake, pond, and the rivers, streams, and groundwaters out of those.
I wasn't sure. I didn't say ponds or lakes, but you said surface water, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay, we're good with that. Okay, that's legal, so that's unchanged. Strategies for protecting. Continue to enforce Columbia Lake watershed management plan. There's a whole plan for the watershed of the lake. Do you want to change that? Do you still want to support that?
I think we're very extensive at this point, I don't think, what we do now is pretty good, I think.
Anybody else?
When you say that, you mean, we have certain areas that we consider the lake management area. Which you're thinking we need to expand it,
It's the watershed.
so it's
It
the,
includes it includes, like the Hill Preserve and the town land surrounding it. It includes the agricultural area above, Lake Road and Erdoney Road.
Would it also include across Route 66 into that wetland area? Right up here in 60, at least this
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
It would also be on the other side of Route 66.
Yes, it would.
I thought so.
Yep. And map. There's a map. I've got a topo map, if you want to look at it. But the Columbia Lake watershed is all around here. Okay. And I don't have a map of the lake overlay zone, which includes the whole watershed. But, lake management has quite an elaborate design.
And they will have their own input into this.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I think that's an important point, is to understand what the zone is.
Yep.
Maybe a map.
And they will. They're also looking at changing or updating the nutrient allocation. Formula for building around the lake.
Get easier or harder? Or just improve?
I don't know. There's a faction that won't make it any harder. And then,
Yeah, so I don't know where that landed.
yeah, that one's a tough one.
I
But
mean, having worked on this, that data sometimes it is cumbersome. Whatever.
it is cumbersome. And and I don't think that is so much of purview as lake management.
Yeah, good. Let them deal with it.
Okay, the next goal. Actively pursue acquisition, easements, and regulation revisions to limit future development.
I don't like that wording.
Living.
No,
It doesn't say develop.
I mean, we shouldn't be. Don't necessarily want to limit. That. Something like to encourage responsible development or something like that.
Right in here.
Yeah. Okay,
I have it up on the screen.
Okay.
There you want it, yeah, around where you want.
Don't, that was what she was going over, with those bullet
yeah,
points.
ready.
Number two, that actively pursue.
All right, what are you thinking about?
Well. It makes it sound like we're anti-development.
It does, and I don't like the language either.
I mean, I'm all for
But-
preserving key things, but we also want to encourage.
Yeah, and
You
we're
could-
talking about
Yeah, the Economic
water.
Development Commission, we do want to have development. At some point in certain places, so. So I would have it for you.
And
Monitor or to preserve the watershed.
or to
Actively pursue
I'd say it's in
develop strategically to protect water.
encourage reasonable development or.
Well, I don't think I see development.
I just don't like the word limit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just,
I don't need,
I mean. The thrust of the sentence is to pursue acquisition easements and regulation revisions. To protect the watershed.
well, not just the watershed, but the riparian corridors and aquifers. So the development needs to be adjective. Smart, strategic.
Promote
Our input.
We need a word there.
to promote responsible development or something like that. I feel that. I just don't like the word on the building, that's not.
To, instead of limit, how about encourage?
Responsible.
That's the other direction.
No, not encourage, encourage responsible, you know, need another word in there.
This is
Yeah,
negative.
I like the word responsible.
Encourage responsible development.
Or balanced.
That's-
How about saying, how about just saying that, something like, to actively pursue blah, blah, in order to reduce pollution and avoid contamination of the waters? Because that's really what you're talking about, is pollution and contamination and trying to limit that. And that's that would be very specific.
Here's what, Mom,
Let's just take that out completely, just say actively pursue acquisition easements and regulation as stated. It's just not a good sentence.
all right. Let's just think of it. That sentence has to change. It'll probably- Okay. Enact appropriate protection measures for priority wetlands
Oh,
through regulations and open space acquisition. Okay, priority wetlands are identified in here on the map. And believe it or not, Columbia Lake is not one of too late.
That's good, just
Yeah.
move it along.
That one's okay. All right. Institute stormwater management practices that will minimize water pollution, sedimentation, and maximize infiltration. That's good. Anybody have a problem with that goal?
No.
Okay. Proactively work to control invasive species. And now we're talking about water, so I think we're talking about all the measures we're
We're
doing.
doing it,
Yeah, we're doing that.
Columbia Lake and starting at Monopole.
So we'll leave that one. Map for vernal pools.
Why is that there?
Is that going on? Is somebody doing that?
Kidding.
Where's your job? Salmon River,
Well,
It's a good goal, though. It's a good goal to
yes.
discover them.
Exactly. Okay. Moving along to soil resources. Okay, soil, we're talking about farmland soil, yes. Floodplain soils, steep slopes, Okay, those are the vulnerable soils. Gold. Tom, can you read the goal? I'm running out of ways.
So goals, promote development that will allow indefinite town-wide use of private wells and septic systems. Protect farmland soils, promote practices that protect soils from contamination and erosion. And we're good with that goal?
Sounds good.
I am,
All right, strategies.
yep,
Study the future impact of current zoning lot requirements. And development practices for land disturbance, revise regulations accordingly. And then the next one is prioritize farmland soils for open space protection. Then the third one was provide public information on soil health, contamination, and erosion.
any problems with those? Do you wanna add and go? Okay,
The maps there categorize the soils
Yes.
by type.
yeah, yeah,
Regulations.
okay,
Yeah, I think it-
are we good with that one? Lord knows Columbia has very little farmland soil. When you look at it. And we have done and will continue to encourage. The protection and active use of that. When we say protect, we mean. Not necessarily that the town bodies involved or the farmland protection program from the state wants it. But if a farmer is actively farming, that's a protection of it. What we mean is that it doesn't go into housing development. Because farmland soils are also the best development soils. So you've got to have a balance. Okay. All right, living resources, land, wildlife. Fisheries. Habitat. And it's a whole map of that. And the trick here is to create, what they're talking about is to create corridors for wildlife, to discourage fragmentation of forests. And fragmentation means when you've got a block of forest and you run a major highway through it, or like Route 66 is a killer. Whoever ran that right through wasn't thinking. They just ran it in a straight line. It goes straight through a priority wetland. It goes straight through what was an enormous block of forest and farmland. And it just fragments the whole thing. So that's why we have roadkill. Because the poor little animals are trying to get through.
It's kind of unavoidable though.
But
Unless you have not, unless you don't have Columbia, you gotta have some key roads. And any road like that's gonna do that. 87 is the same thing.
but in,
But we don't need more of them.
right, but in future habitat. You know, if you've got a forest, like woods and monoplant, that is our biggest and our most successful project to keep our largest forest block from becoming fragmented. Anyway, so goal.
Protect and foster a rich diversity of plants and animals in Columbia. And protect large contiguous habitats, offset fragmentation with wildlife corridors. And then the strategies, identify important contiguous habitats within and abutting Columbia's borders. Revise open space plan accordingly. Update the potential wildlife corridors map as needed. Establish preservation of these corridors when considering open space set aside in subdivisions. Prioritize large contiguous habitats for open space protection. Proactively work to control invasive species.
Okay,
Yep.
additions. Subtractions,
Good.
corrections, look at that. Okay, next chapter is open space. And we're probably all pretty familiar with what that is. The checklist that we have, I sent that out to everybody today. Yeah. Just for you to review, that's pretty much what we're looking for to protect. So in the open space plan, page 34.
Got it.
Okay. The open space plan is protect valuable natural resources, protect cultural resources. And the criteria we went through, that's our checklist. And you reviewed all that, and that included
What page are you on?
37, okay. Quantity and quality of drinking water, that's number 1. Recreational. Rural character. Agriculture. Resources. Cultural sites like historic districts, stuff like that. Unique and sensitive environmental resources. Okay. Habitat. For wildlife corridors. Opportunities for passive recreation. And to active recreation. Okay. And so we went through that. So the goal, continue to protect priority properties based on a strict standard of criteria, which is the goal foregoing. Good goal. Want to change it, add to it, subtract it, rewrite it.
Where is this strict standard of criteria
In the checklist.
above the previous part?
Yeah. The checklist, I think I sent it out to you.
Oh, that,
Or you
The checklist is
did,
not in here.
but
Checklist isn't in this.
the checklist is not, the checklist is what I just read to you, it just puts it in score sheet. Okay, drinking water, recreational waters, scenic vistas, agriculture, history and cultural sites, sensitive environment resources, habitat for wildlife, wildlife corridors, passive recreation.
So,
And this
so
is,
seeing that's called out of the book, should that be in the book?
absolutely.
well, it is painful. I mean, I just read it to you.
I mean,
It's
that
outlets of the checklist.
checklist is, you're calling it out by. Says. As per, you know, as strict standards of criteria. And we shouldn't it be the next thing to criteria? I don't know.
It's not a secret. Should know what we, how we value property.
Because that's, you know, some look, oh, that's a great idea, and then you actually see the criteria and it says something that we don't like. And that's kind of a hidden thing at this point. It's outside people's, so it grabs this book and goes to look.
That just takes. This list, all of it's here,
Yeah,
it's
that's more,
just that, it doesn't.
that's the thought, that whether that should be in there so you have a idea what's going on. That's all, that's my.
Oh, okay,
And I have to go, are you gonna do an executive session today?
No.
You're not?
No.
Okay.
not that,
Okay. All right, cheerio.
Yeah, block out like 4 minutes.
Oh,
Okay.
before we lose everybody, we just mentioned this real quick.
okay, whoa, oh,
Hey, Paul,
First.
I don't know if everybody's aware, but we had a big grand opening of the swing bridge and Justin was part of it. And back in 1913, when the swing bridge was first built, 1,000 people gathered in the same spot of the swing bridge opening. At the time, it was a 900-foot longest truss bridge of any kind in the world. In 1913. The toll for the ox and horse cart at that time was 25 cents. Sheep were 3 cents, and he says thankfully no plans to bring the tolls back, but there's a smaller crowd today in attendance. In the modern world of new coverage and social media news travels fast, and a lot of dignitaries were there, including our governor and congressman and DOT chairman and Justin with his oxen.
Yeah.
So
Just fun.
That's
Let me
when
cross
we're on
the
the-
bridge. I stood there.
in my old office of East Haddam, when first elected, we had a picture of the oxen, the first oxen coming over the tolls and Justin reading that. I have the paper for you.
You know what's really nice is they built the walk bridge.
Yes,
Thanks.
Yeah.
you can actually walk on the outside of the bridge as a pedestrian without being killed, because it's not a wide bridge. With big enough to walk across it. Sorry to interrupt.
that's okay, that is great, and you included it.
No.
I don't even know how they got a hold of
It
it.
must be, it's not Justin.
So I ended up getting a call from the state,
I was
so.
reading my local paper, it just sent me pictures, so I have pictures on my phone.
You must be the only person with oxen.
Yeah, I guess there's only so many of us, so.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Oh, true. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so we're gonna add score sheet.
My suggestion.
That's a good idea.
I like the idea.
Okay, we'll add that. Okay. All right, strategies, let's run through these real quick and then I think it'll be done.
You're page 39, right?
Yes, 39, wanna read them
Yeah.
down.
So continue to protect priority properties based on strict standards and criteria, so that's the score sheet. Review subdivision regulations and revise where necessary to allow for conservation subdivisions as a viable open space protection tool. Work with landowners who are considering permanently protecting some or all of their land for future generations. Analyze available priority property for possible acquisition using grant funds. Coordinate with other governmental agencies and land trusts to support open space goals. Continue to monitor conservation easements and manage town-owned open space. Facilitate donations of land or funds for open space protection. Permanently protect town-owned land when appropriate. Budget for minimum allocation to open space to maintain sufficient balance. That's it.
Okay,
Last one's.
the last two goals permanently protect town-owned land. Budget minimum allocation. Those are two ongoing goals that I've been chipping away at for decades, I think, and Chris before me.
And Ian, what about, instead of just town owned land, we have partnerships now with the state. So we're partnering with the state of Connecticut on Monmouth State Park.
With yes.
Town owned land.
See, this is where you get it written into the deed. And if we don't own it, if it's not town owned, then we can't do that. The state,
But we have responsibility, it is written into, you're talking about Mountain Pond, we're supposed to be the caretakers, right?
Right.
I'm not sure, I never heard the language, but. We can do stuff.
Like we're a partner in the maintenance of that state park. And maybe we need to look at what language.
And the only thing that's in place is the original agreement from almost 30 years ago. There's
Right.
nothing new.
From when Monmouth Pond was just 200 acres.
okay, so
There is a question there, I mean. Maybe we need to look into exactly what our responsibilities are, we can continue with all the additional.
public land instead of town owned.
Or just minimum allocation, open space, no, permit.
And I would broaden
We just broaden. Cause what I'm
Okay,
working
that's good.
towards
it, cause
is,
rec park is public land.
yeah, but it says when appropriate. So I've been trying to get the land, some of the land around the preserve that the town owns permanently protected.
In rec. In the rec park.
No,
Behind.
on the west side of the Joshua Trust Park, that town owned land should be permanently protected as an open space. Because you're not gonna develop it.
Most of it's swamp.
No, it's the steep slope, yeah, upland part. Beyond,
Okay, is that one section, yeah, okay.
okay, uphill from the mills. Along the street.
It kind of goes along the cemetery and then that's,
So if you build a senior center or school there, instead of keeping it as dedicated open
oh, I see
space,
where you're going.
then that will have a very negative effect on the Utley Brook and the lake. So I worked, if you remember, I ran to the town attorney and tried to get this through. He said, well, not yet.
Not really, hopefully, finding out, really.
This part. Over here. Not this part, because this should not develop that way. That's the one I'm talking about, and possibly this one,
That we just purchased.
this one, yeah.
Okay.
That's not. So do you wanna make that town owned or public?
Public, that works pretty good, I think.
Public. Is
Public, public covers everything,
that covers,
covers town and state.
okay. And then when appropriate, because it isn't always appropriate. Okay. And we'll still chip away at a minimum allocation for open space.
We brought the down budget, right?
Yeah,
Which we always, it gets to.
it's been against the law.
So imprecise, of course. It has to be, I guess.
It does. And if they just start the precedent, and put. Whatever. Okay. Any other, what?
I'm gonna just. Once we get done with these chapters, there's the final chapter, chapter 16, which is the implementation plan.
Yep.
So a lot of what we talked about just now goes over there, and then there's additional tasks and things. So not at today's meeting, but at a future meeting, work through how those tasks fit with any changes we made.
Okay,
And you plan to do this every meeting now? Yeah.
well,
On this?
if we get called up in July. As just an indicated we might.
Right, there was July, if they're doing the vote.
I guess it could be suggested they don't pick us up until after next
You
meeting.
could suggest a change. Yeah, I mean, because you're being proactive about it, and again, I'm recusing myself from this discussion, but
Yeah.
I think. You may be best to ask for a time slot. If you need more time to go through it.
I think that would be a good idea.
If you are,
But either that or.
One of the keys of this.
Or at least wait till after our next meeting anyways.
It's because. I'm so important. That's right.
That goes without saying.
No, but I mean, this is half of it,
You're always there, so they're gonna listen to you.
Okay,
All right, are you done?
we're done. Any other
I'm
business?
going to Florida.
that's all it took, huh?
That's it, I'm done.
Done.
Thanks, Rob.
Dustin, I had a question for you. Is there an end date for the survey?
They're gonna run it through the summer.
Okay.
I don't know, but I'll net a specific date. So have you seen the flyer that John put together with the QR code?
Yeah.
Okay,
Everyone.
let's see it.
Fred,
Yeah, we're gonna try to push that out to as many places as we can. We got to find.
You know, the last time it was only for like 6 weeks,
Chris,
and we're approaching that now. That's why I was wondering,
Okay,
because it didn't say that.
you adjourned at,
I think it's gonna be
Adjourn.
probably through the end of the summer. Cause
7.
they only had like 80 responses last time I asked, so.
Chris heard us?
I don't know. He's not indicated.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
Oh, okay,
Yes,
so we adjourned at 10:07, Chris.
okay. I'm not taking notes, by the way. Ann asked me that, and I sent her an email yesterday that I wouldn't be able to take notes because I can't hear well enough
okay.
to do that. So,
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
okay.